Welcome to the next edition of TechVets, the podcast. This evening we are joined by Chester Pitts, who is a veteran and he's now working for Salus Cyber. Welcome, Chester. How are you this evening?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Really good.
So tell us how your day's been today. What's it involved?
So today, promptly, I've been helping sort of update and revamp the website. I'm having quite a lead role in helping out with that. So I've been doing lots of additional research and stuff. I've spent the day doing some research today, really.
Okay, and that's kind of not traditionally what someone would expect from someone working in the cyber. So can you tell us a little bit more about your role and your responsibilities?
Yes, so I've just currently passed my CPSA CREST exam. I've recently failed my practical side of it, unfortunately. So I've got to retake that in a couple of weeks. So I'm just trying to help out the company where I can until I get me sort of formal qualifications where I can really start working. We can help because we do a lot of government work, so I can help out with sort of the commercial side of things, commercial jobs, and I'm just helping out with internal work as well. Whilst I've got a bit of free time, whilst I'm still studying for resitting my exam.
So not many people would come on and say, I just failed the exam. And do you know what? That's really good to hear because that's part of life and part of retraining.
Yeah, that's I've took it on board as a learning process. I feel like people shouldn't be ashamed of failing exams and stuff.
Which exam was it?
So it's called the CRT. So it's the sort of practical pen testing exam for CREST.
And how did you find it when you were sitting the exam?
So it is quite a tough exam. Some of the concepts are relatively basic. There's some slightly more advanced ones, but it's just the time constraint. You really put under pressure with the time. So, that was the hardest part. If there's longer time, you'll be able to pass it quite easily, but they say not too many people pass it first time anyway.
How did your employers feel? Did they expect you to pass it first time, or is it, like you say, pretty normal that people need a few attempts?
No, it was just, I'd say it was just a bonus if it did pass. There was no pressure on me to pass. It's just sort of gauge where I'm at and see where I can improve. You do get some feedback from the exam for if you fail. So it gives you some pointers and a direction of where you can improve, which is good.
That sounds brilliant. And I know I sound kind of like I'm enjoying your failure. I'm really not. It's just really refreshing to hear someone be brutally honest that it's not just plain sailing when you're doing something new, learning something new.
And it's my journey's not been plain sailing really as well. It is because I've transferred from a slightly non-technical role from in the military, so I've had to do a lot of stuff off my own back, and sort of exams as well in spare time and stuff. But it has been a tough journey.
So, what was your role in the military?
So when I finished, I was 10 years in the Marines, and I was a vehicle technician when I left. So sort of like a mechanic.
And what did you do in those 10 years? What were the kind of highlights?
You're digging deep there. I suppose I travelled the world a lot. I suppose a 9-month deployment on ship, and we spent. And it's Christmas. We went to Antarctica, South Georgia. That was probably one of my highlights.
Being away at Christmas in the snow.
Yeah, it was really nice. Somewhere you'd never get to go again. Yeah, I'd say that obviously the main highlight why a lot of people join the military is sort of the travelling aspect of it.
And what was the Or I guess what were the catalogue of things that made you think a decade of service is enough for me?
So I left medically. So I had an injury in it was mid 2019. But then they made a decision to sort of medical discharge me in December 2022. And then I had like a 3 month sort of notice period from them until I was officially out. So
That
it wasn't sort of my full decision to leave, but with me having a young family, it was at the back of my mind. It was sort of getting to a time to leave anyway.
How did you feel when you knew you had 3 months to sort yourself well, I guess to sort your life out?
Um, so I was kind of prepping for worst case scenario if it did happen before it. So I was told from the date I did leave, it's like a year prior that they might decide to, even if I do want to stay, they might decide to move me on and make me to leave anyway. Um, so I was kind of prepping off in my own accord anyway in my spare time, and that's when I was doing like a lot of courses towards sort of cybersecurity and that. That's when I really started trying to push to aim to get a career in it.
So you mentioned you had this kind of year where you knew you needed to make a plan. Did you always know you were going to go down the cyber route, or did you have different ideas?
No, so it was never really initially my plan. It was when I was away on a deployment in Norway. I seen a friend doing um, sort of a lot of work in his spare time, and he really introduced me to the offensive side of things. I suppose that was about 2 years prior to me leaving, and I took a keen interest in it from there. And then I suppose within the last year, that's when I started really pushing to try and make a career out of it.
You said you came from a kind of non-technical background. Did you ever question whether cyber was really going to be for you during that process, or did you just think this is what I want? I'm going to go for it.
I always sort of thought this is what I want. I want to go for it, but there was some sort of tough moments during the studying and stuff where stuff just isn't quite making sense at times, and it just gets to the point where something might just click and the penny drops, and it all sort of makes sense. Um, I suppose one thing in the military is like perseverance with stuff. I kept pushing with the studying and that, and luckily it's all starting to pay off.
What courses did you start with, or how did you dip your toe in it first? What was your first contact with
Um,
cyber?
so sort of when I first properly started studying for it, there's a couple of websites called Hack the Box and Try Hack Me. So it's predominantly using them. They've both got sort of learning paths to sort of study towards different things within cyber. And then from there, I took my EJPT exam. And that is e-learn security. That was my first sort of official recognised exam I sort of took and passed. And that's when we really got a taste for it after that.
So when you left the Royal Marines, what bank of certifications or qualifications did you have to start tapping into the workplace with?
So I had my e-learn security EJPT exam. When I left, I'd done my CCNA course through CTP, the Career Transition Partnership, which that helped a lot, and that's quite a good qualification. I think I took a couple of extras through TechVets, but they're only sort of smaller qualifications just for like personal development.
And how did you find out about TechVets?
So it's word of mouth through another friend in the Marines who's quite into cybersecurity, and he sort of messaged me, told me to get on board with TechVets.
How did you go about landing your first job? How many CVs did you have to send off, or how did you go about it?
Well, I won't say funny story, but I wasn't really looking for work at the time. So when I left, I was going to have a few months off work to family time and to sort of focus on studying as well. Because I had one more quite big exam I wanted to pass before I was looking for work, my ECPPT. I managed to pass that, but in the I think it's the week before my exam, someone contacted me through LinkedIn and sort of just offered me to go for the job interview. And I hadn't really had any interviews for about 12 years, so I thought I'd just take it just for a bit of experience, not really looking for work. And then sort of they offered me a role and that, and I took it straight away. Really, I thought it'd be silly not to.
That's amazing. So you weren't actually. How did they identify you on LinkedIn as?
I mean, so I was relatively active on LinkedIn, sort of I suppose building up my network and like sort of friends to work along with cybersecurity, and I think it's just pot luck. It's just come across my profile and looking for sort of a junior role to fill the gap.
That's amazing. And which company was that with?
So that's with Salus Cyber, based in Cheltenham.
So who you're with now?
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
Was the person who recruited you ex-military or?
No. So they have one member of the team is ex-military. He's already been there about a year, and he left the military a few years back now. He's already been in the IT industry for a couple of years now.
You make it sound so easy. Anyone listening to this would just be like,
yeah, just right time, right place. I think you got lucky.
That's absolutely brilliant. So one interview that you didn't really put yourself forward for, and a job straight off the back.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's amazing.
I can't believe my luck when they offered me the job and sort of the whole package. And one thing that sort of for me was sort of the culture of the company, which kind of had the same values of like in the military. Really, it seemed so. I jumped at the chance straight away.
And what do those values look like?
It's more sort of like sort of as a family, really. That's what the MD manager director said. So it's more sort of family based. And we all sort of work together a lot. And I suppose being a pen tester, sort of what role I am, a security consultant, is sort of having like moral courage as well and things like that, which I suppose helps a lot coming from the military side.
How does moral courage work in a cybersecurity environment?
So obviously when we do tests on sort of other companies, or it could be like commercial big companies, sort of, or government companies, they're giving us permission to sort of go into their systems, and we'll be looking around and we might come across certain files we shouldn't do and stuff like that. And if there's stuff that shouldn't be there, but you can count on us straight away to do the right thing and flag it up and raise it up. Because if anything like that got into the wrong hands as well, like it could be detrimental to that company.
Do you think that's why a lot of tech and cyber companies are looking for military, because they already have that, not necessarily a sense of duty, but the confidence to flag things that might not be right?
Yeah, I have heard that mentioned quite a bit, and they say the soft skills go a long way as well. Sort of within IT, but we're able to communicate and stuff like that. Because I suppose within cyber as well, communication's key with your team members and stuff like that. And if you're working from home or on site somewhere else, you need to keep communication with everyone.
Did you access any other courses through TechVets?
Yeah, so the main course what I managed to take advantage of was the SANS work study program, where they luckily selected so you had to write an email on sort of where you're at in your career, why you want to choose cyber as sort of your career, when you're looking at leaving and stuff like that. And luckily, they picked mine out, and I got selected for the SANS work study program, which is brilliant training. And anything to do with SANS is like well regarded. So I was really lucky to get that.
How much does that training cost if you were to purchase it as a non-veteran or non-forces family member?
So I was down as a facilitator of the course, which is open for sort of anyone to apply to, really. But I think it costs around £2,000.
And
And sort of during the time as being a facilitator, you're there, sort of you're working on behalf of SANS and representing SANS, which was quite good. So I got to meet a lot of people as well, sort of through that.
and did you have to pay for that?
No, so everything was covered through TechVets. So if you're already out of the military and you sort of get selected for this program, you'll have to cover your own accommodation and travel. But because I was in my resettlement period, I managed to claim that sort of through the military, which is really helpful.
That's brilliant. What kind of thing did you do on that course? Was it residential? I'm guessing it was.
So I travelled to London for my course. It was so they have them based all around the world. I managed to get on one in is in the centre of London. SANS in person. They do them online as well, but I'd highly recommend any version if you can.
What kind of thing did you do on that course?
So I selected the SANS 560, which is the GPEN, sort of the pen testing practitioner course. So it was a lot of hands-on sort of hacking, sort of ethical hacking, sort of based things, all from network security through to Azure AD and Active Directory sort of thing.
How did that set you up for your job? You mentioned you did it in resettlement. Do you feel yourself pulling on that knowledge now in your current role?
Yeah, it has really helped, to be fair. Obviously, it'll get used more to come when it can start really working and stuff like that. But I was lucky to get the sort of an online package as well, because you're there working as a representative of SANS. You're there to help all the other students who've paid for the course. So you can't always spend all the time in a classroom. So they offer sort of on-demand learning stuff for afterwards as well, and I think you keep that for about 6 months. Yeah, 6 months you keep that for, which is really handy. So you can go over anything you missed, recap over things.
What kind of thing are they looking for? You mentioned that you applied by email. What do you think got picked up from yours to make you get selected?
So I believe they've sort of worked out a sort of a scoring criteria for how soon you're due out, and because I was out with medical reasons and I only had sort of 3 months notice for when I was officially being told to leave. So I think that really helped sort of in my benefit, really. I think that was the key swinger for me, where so I done my course in December and I was kicked out in December as well. So I think I applied for the course in around June time, but the process didn't happen until sort of later on in the year, and there's only a couple of months' notice. I feel like I have been sort of quite lucky how sort of things have just come into my stride as I've sort of come up to it, and it's just happened, and I've just gone with the flow, but everything's just got sort of gone as planned. I couldn't have wished it to go any better, really. Minus failing the exam.
Yeah, but that's
a part of learning.
Human and real. Do you mind me asking what did you get injured in the Marines, or what was the? You don't have to say.
Yeah. So it was 2019, sort of, I injured my back in work. It was,
Yeah.
and towards the end of it, I just wasn't that. So I think it's nearly 2 years. No, just over 2 years. It was sort of we tried to rehab and stuff like that, but it just wasn't getting any better for me to do the role really.
How is it now?
It still gives me bits of issues if I'm sitting for extra long hours at the desk, but it has got better really since leaving the Marines.
You need to get one of those yo-yo desks.
Yeah, so we have them in work when we're in office.
Oh, brilliant.
I think the long hours each week up and down in the cars, not doing that each week has helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good 5-6 hours each way in the car each week.
Oh my goodness. And I guess you
Yeah.
had to probably run around with weight at some stage.
No, so I wasn't doing that whilst injured, but that's the side of being a Marine I couldn't really do again.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of key in many ways, yon
Yeah,
thing.
because first and foremost, you're expected to fulfil that role and that duty if called upon, and that's the side I couldn't really do anymore.
Yeah. How did you feel kind of being medically downgraded?
So I've had a couple of little injuries before, and I think everyone sort of has, but I've never had anything where it's knocked me back quite like that. Um, that definitely had its ups and downs, really. Um, there's a lot of moments where you just think this is just never going to get better and stuff like that. But I suppose we managed to get through the end of it. I've managed to live with it anyway. That was the main thing to manage it.
Do you think if you hadn't had the back injury, you would still be in the Marines?
Um, I'm actually would still be in now. I told myself as well I was wanting to, if and when I did want to leave, which I would do for my family, but I would have liked to have been ready to sort of walk into a job, doing the job straight away. So I would use that time to try and study as much as I can, and sort of be qualified,
I
which
think
which
that,
may have took a couple more years, maybe another
yeah,
year or two.
but I guess everything made you get on with it a bit faster than you would have done.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would have took a bit more of a laid back approach to it, um, not put as much onus on myself as pushing to try and get certain qualifications under my belt.
So how does the CREST qualifications that you've been working through, how do they come into play with with your current role?
Yeah, so it's a two-part qualification. I've done one part. The second part's the practical. Once you sort of pass both of them, it's CREST is like an accredited body, and a lot of companies look for that. You need that sort of as a minimum to sort of work on some of their systems and stuff. So it's definitely a big one what I'm working towards to get.
Is that something that Salus Cyber have asked you to do, or is that something you're doing off your own back?
No, so that's sort of something within the company what they require really, because a lot of their work is required sort of as a minimum really.
And how did you find I guess, the theory part of the CREST exam?
Yeah, that was quite challenging as well, really. Um, it's quite a broad spectrum of topics, um, and some of it does go into a bit of depth, I suppose. But I'm not sure how like, the bank on questions, but there's a lot of topics and there's a lot of like subtopics within them topics. And because as well, you sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, before each exam, so you can't really find anything online about the exams themselves. So that's another reason why it's they're quite well regarded exams because there's not much out there about them.
So you're not going to spill the beans to me now, then?
No, I can't.
But that's really good because I guess that then means that whoever's got that certification has earned it without the support of ChatGPT or Google
Yeah,
search. Right?
Yeah, definitely. So, like me, the other two exams are done. You sort of get like, I think it's 5 days. You get to sort of to do that, and you're allowed to use Google and stuff. Where these ones you can't.
So how much preparation do you think you'll need to do to then retake the practical?
So there's an 8 week cooling off period if you fail. So I'm in the process of, so I've got to wait in the 8 week period, and then you can resit it again after that.
How has the company felt about that? Have they what was their reaction like?
They were completely fine about it, really. They're really supportive, and they made it clear before the exam that there's no pressure on me to pass it. I only think I put the pressure on myself in wanting to pass it, really.
How did you feel about it?
About failing it.
Yeah.
I was just annoyed at myself, really. I just really wanted to pass it in myself. Um, once it's sort of settled in after a day or so, that's when you can start looking back on it and trying to learn from it. But I was disappointed initially.
Did you know when you were doing it that there were gaps that you needed to fill?
There was a couple of things that come up where I was a little unsure, and it sort of clicked afterwards. But I think it's just during the time constraint at the time. You don't have very long at all.
How long do you have to do the exams?
So it's 2.5 hours.
Wow,
And there's quite a lot of questions to get through, really.
that sounds quite intense.
Yeah, it is. Uh,
I mean, you've got this 8-week cooling off period. How are you going to prepare for the next take of that practical exam?
yeah, so obviously I've sort of established some gaps in my knowledge a bit, I suppose, where I've been working up on stuff like that, and I'm just going to keep doing the same sort of done last time through like sort of capture the flags on Hack the Box, because they've got a crest learning path, sort of specifically for this exam. So I'm going through sort of bits on that, which if I'm unsure on certain bits, I'll go over and I'll go over other bits on it.
Have you talked to other veterans in similar positions who are doing the same exams?
No, I knew of one other who's recently left. He was looking to do this exam a little while back, but I think he's put it off. But apart from that, I don't know anyone else doing it.
Have you scared him off it?
No, not yet.
So, what's your what's your kind of goal for the next kind of 2 to 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
I mean, hopefully pass this exam for next time, uh, and then sort of medium term goals. I'll hope to be like an established member of the Salus team. I can really contribute to findings and finding vulnerabilities and stuff within systems. That'll be a good place where I'd like to be anyway.
How do you find, looking back now, on the military, are there any elements that you miss?
Um, I mean, I suppose sort of when you spend a lot of time with the lads when you're away, sort of on deployments at the time, you don't, they think, oh, this is rubbish and stuff like that. It's bad times and that. But when you look back, you think it is pretty good times, really. I tend to find that you forget a lot of the bad times. You just remember the good times, unless they're really bad.
So, do you want to sign up with the RMR then now?
No.
How is your? Sorry, go ahead.
I might have to give that a few years, and I might change my mind. But at the moment, I'm enjoying having a break from it.
How has your family found the transition?
They've really enjoyed it and benefited from it, especially with my kids. So my youngest is one now. I've had sort of the best relationship with him, sort of compared to the other two, with me being away a lot. and my partner's noticed that as well. So that's helped, massively being at home.
How do you find it working from home?
So that helps a lot with my family. Spent sort of seeing my family at times. Um, I suppose it is something very, very new to me, and I've not come up to it. But you just sort of get the job done on your laptop anyway. As long as you've got like a bit of a plan on what you want to do for the day and stuff. It's usually, I found it plain sailing so far. Anyway.
It sounds amazing that you've kind of, gone from injury to bagging yourself a job. It sounds like it's been fairly easy and straightforward for you. But I mean, there must have been difficult or challenging times. It can't have all been plain sailing.
um, I mean, it sort of has really, as bad as it is to say to some people, have a real bad time with it. But I think I've just got lucky. But I suppose you can create your own luck, and maybe with me, um, sort of thinking a year ahead, but worst case scenario, I might get kicked out. That's when I was kind of a lot more active on sort of LinkedIn, sort of building up my network. And I spent pretty much every evening when I was away with work, sort of in the evenings on my laptop, really working towards it.
Well, I guess that actually sounds like your discipline paid off more than luck or anything else.
Yeah, I suppose you make your own luck, but I was definitely the right time, right place with landing the first job.
So, what advice would you give to other Marines or people still in the service thinking about signing off? What would be your top tip for them in looking to a future outside the military?
Try and set goals you can actually meet as well. Give yourself a timeline, because that year you just blink and it's gone by. So if you can have sort of goals set for every couple of months, like I had me 2 exams as working towards, um, and you could tick one off and then go on to the next one, and that really helped me along. And you can visually see progress getting made, and I'd say that was a big one that helped me along.
Do you talk to many other service leavers or veterans in terms of jumping into the TechVets Discord platform or anything like that?
Yeah, I've spoken to a few on there really, and we've been up on sort of LinkedIn as well, connected on there. The tech vets community is pretty good, really. I'd say, um, whether you're asking for help or if someone asks for help on there, there's a lot of people that jumps on to answer questions, which is really good.
What kind of questions do you see pop up there, or have you received?
Um, so one you see on there often, which I suppose it's overwhelming for a lot of people, the amount of qualifications you can choose to go down and learning paths and learning resources, because there's so much out there. It is really overwhelming. So you do get that, asked quite a bit, and people do narrow it down on. Obviously, everyone's different for what area they want to specify in, but there's sort of a vast um, broad experience in tech vets as well.
How do people pick the best courses for what they want to do and not waste their learning credits on courses that aren't going to get them anywhere or aren't accredited?
I suppose that's where tech vets really comes into its own, because you've got a lot of people who've experienced it and been there and done it, sort of thing. So I suppose that's one place to ask the question as well, is on tech vets, and you should get some good answers from there. But like I said, there's so many providers out there and stuff, and it is really hard to know if you're choosing the right course, if you get your money's worth.
What did you use your learning credits on any specific courses?
I used mine on a Python course, sort of a computer language course, but that was just for my own knowledge, really, sort of personal development. I wasn't for more a recognised qualification.
Okay. I think that's really good advice to go to TechVets, and then also just building the broader knowledge around it, around the
Yeah.
subject that you're going into. Um, the person that inspired you, who was, heading to cybersecurity, what's happened to them now?
So he's in an established role, sort of doing my job for, I think it's for Siemens now.
Do you still stay in touch?
Yeah, we still keep in touch because we worked together a few years back. So we both still chat regularly. Really, it's just good.
Does he know he's your inspiration?
Yeah, he does.
That's brilliant. Chester, this has been really good speaking to you, and I think kind of, we've talked about your journey as being plain sailing, but obviously, it's also been really real, like with the CREST exam and just managing that and getting on with it, which I think kind of, for some people looking ahead, you just want to pass everything, don't you? You want to
Yeah,
progress, but
of
actually
course.
you've got to have that knowledge before you get there. And
The reality of it, they're not all that easy as just passing it straight away.
which means that you'll be an awesome practitioner when you get there.
Fingers crossed. Working on it.
Well, I'll let you go, but it's been fantastic to talk to you. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, are you on the Discord platform for TechVets?
Yes, I am. So I'm on Discord for that, and I'm quite active on LinkedIn as well. So either or, I'm happy to help out with anyone.
Okay, that would be fantastic, because I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some people who would like to pick your brains about the certificates that you've mentioned, but also how to bag a job in without doing anything proactively and not even studying.
Yeah,
Because that sounds like the golden ticket that everyone
yeah.
would hope to.
Some sort of lucky charm.
Yeah. If you can market that, I think you'll be a rich
Try and
man.
bottle it and sell it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much, Chester. And for any of our listeners, you can get in touch with Chester, like you said, on TechVets Discord platform or via LinkedIn. And if you would like to become a TechVets member and access some of the training and certifications that Chester's mentioned, or just tap into that advice, then head to www.techvets.co. Thank you for listening.